Hi, I'm Milena. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog. I had a lot of historical fiction on my 2023 TBR that I selected with my TBR board and I didn't read them. So I had a few books that were just TBR fills from this year. So I thought I would do another historical fiction vlog. I've done one before and I really enjoyed filming that one, so I thought I would do it again. If I remember this right, on my January TBR there was The House with the Golden Door by Elodie Harper. On my February TBR was Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. On my March TBR was Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. And then one that I put on the TBR for this month actually, so for May, is The Secrets of Hartwood Hall. These and The House with the Golden Door are the books for this vlog. I am very excited for this one. As I am filming this intro, I have read a few of them already. And I have to say my highest expectations were for The House with the Golden Door because that is the second one in the series. And for Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. I can already say that my expectations didn't really come true with all these books. So without further ado, let's start this vlog. And I started listening to The House with the Golden Door. Right, whilst I sit here to try and mix my paints for the mural I probably want to make. I painted this wall a few days ago and I want to make a mural on top. Or I think I will. I made some sketches. I'm going to try, and if I don't like it I'll just paint over it. I'm going to mix my paint in this because the actual paint mixer palette that I had I lost in the move. So I'm going to work with this. I'm going to go for kind of this color palette, but then this of course will be green, but I have to mix it. I think that will fit. While I do that, I will talk to you about The House with the Golden Door because I've listened to half of it. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to listen to way more of it because it's a very compelling read. And I thought if I don't update you now, I may have finished it before I can tell you how I'm feeling about it. So this is a historical fiction, clearly, because this is a historical fiction vlog. This is the second book in a trilogy. And the first book, we are set in Pompeï. This book is also set in Pompeï. We are set in a brothel where we meet Amora. She and all the other women in the brothel are enslaved there. And in the second book, we meet her where we left her off in book 1. And things in her situation have changed. So far it's kind of an exploration of how much it has changed. I'm really enjoying it. This historical fiction is so compelling and it has a bit of a Greek myth tone to it, but it's definitely not Greek myth. It is about actual characters, like there are no gods. Of course these people are religious, but gods aren't characters. I really enjoy that we have a character from that time period really come to life, and the writing and the plot is just so compelling. It's super slow. I kind of am surprised how that would work, that it's so slow but still so compelling. I cannot really tell you anything about the plot because that would be a spoiler of The Wolf Den. And I would highly recommend everyone to read The Wolf Den because it's so good. And I'm now going to very nervously make a green color. I really enjoy the character of Amora and I really think that the second book really flows very natural after the first book. There is one character that has a big role in the first book and I kind of thought we had left them behind. But I think that character is going to play a big part in the resolution of the second book and I'm not loving that. Just the female friendship is the core of this book and it's so heartbreaking and so beautiful at the same time. I think this could be another 5-star because I'm liking it as much as I liked The Wolf Den, which I gave 5 stars. This is the green I've made. It's way too greenish, so I think I could make it lighter, but I want it to be, oh, it looks way brighter on camera as well. It's already better.
I could sit around and wait all day. You lay easy on my mind, like a candle I just burn away. All we really have is time. All we really have is time. I don't wanna waste it on anyone.
have finished The House with the Golden Door by Elodie Harper and I gave it 5 stars. Which was no surprise, to be honest, because it is a very natural continuation of part 1, which is The Wolf Den. My first feeling after finishing The Wolf Den was, why does this need a second book? It feels quite rounded up for me. Having read this though, I'm glad there was, because we leave the character, of course, at a certain point in book 1, and it is picked up in a way that you know that problems never really stop, that things often haunt you. And there's also a romance in this book that I loved so much. One of my favorite romances in historical fiction. Very compelling, very real. I already thought that the character of Amara, our main character, was a very well-rounded, engaging character, but she was given even more depth in this book. She was faced with certain choices that she didn't have in the first book, and that made her wonder how good of a person she is. There's a lot of plot twists, betrayal. It's all good things in this book. It's hard to talk about the second book in a series because you don't want to give anything away, of course. But this is everything I wanted it to be, and I'm quite upset that it's going to take until November 2023 before the next book comes out, which just confirms for me that I need to wait until series are finished to read them. But of course, it is good to support the author while they are writing it, because then they get more money and everything while they're writing a trilogy or a series that you really want to read. So I'm putting the new one as a pre-order on my wish list, and I will pre-order it when I can. And that's going to make me really happy, because there was so much heartbreak at the end of book 2 that I feel like I need to heal together with these characters. But I'm also really curious where it's going to go, because the stakes are so high by the end of the second book. I would highly recommend this series overall. It is a cleaning Sunday, so I am being quite productive today. And in between cleaning, I am reading Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. I've only just noticed that Yaa Gyasi is on my female authors poster. So another author I read from my poster, so that's pretty cool. This is a 5-star prediction because it's so good. I'm now exactly 100 pages in, and we start out in, I think it says Ghana, but it's not called Ghana, because I think you had just different areas who all had their own names. We start out in the 18th century and we follow two estranged sisters. One of them marries a British slaver, the other one is sold into slavery. And that is, I think, like the first 50 pages of the book. And then we follow their children and their children and their children. I think it will take around 300 years, I think, because we start in the 1770s, I believe, what I remember. And this is one of those reads that is so visual. I can really experience all the places where I am. And that is one of my favorite things in historical fiction, is when my imagination can just really tap into the writing. So I think the writing is amazing. On a whim, I also bought Transcended Kingdom when I bought this, and I'm really happy that I did now, because I think I am really dwelling with Yaa Gyasi's writing. The characters are amazing, but I'm not really sure if it's about a single individual. We have these two sisters, but we've only followed them for one chapter, because every chapter is an own character, and that is kind of a hit or miss, I think, in a lot of books. Like I read for the Hobbitses book club the Khaled Hosseini book, in which I did not love that, and in that book it kind of took away from, I think, the goal of the book. But this is the kind of generational story where you see these repetitions of behavior, but in a much more convincing way. It's hard to talk about the subject matter of the book, because I think I just need to read it and experience it first, but the writing is amazing. The characters are doing what they need to do. This is just such a convincing book. Incredibly well paced, and it has family tree at the beginning, which is always like an intimidating start of a book, but it's really helpful, because every time I see a name of a chapter I just look at the family tree, and sometimes it feels like a spoiler because then you know who they end up marrying and things like that. But again, I don't really think that's the point of this book. It's hard to describe, but I'm so impressed. I think this will be a 5-star. I just want to read it all the time. So that's what I'm going to do now. And I took a break from reading War and Peace to read this, and I think it was the absolute best decision to pick this up. This was on my, I think, March TBR. This whole vlog is catching up on 2023 TBR fails, which is great, because I always seem to have a hard time prioritizing like bigger historical fiction novels. This is not that big, but I usually prioritize the classics and the shorter literary contemporary fictions over the more historical novels, even though I end up almost always loving them so much. I'm having a wonderful time. I will let you know my final rating once I finish this. It's been a few days since I finished this and I needed the time because this will be one of my favorite books of all time. Just everything about this novel worked. Everything is good. The plot, the pacing, the characters, the author convincing you that everything in this novel is real. It's so good. Usually with generational stories, a comment I have is that it just gets messy at some point, that authors try to do too much. Yaa Gyasi does a lot with this book, but she pulls it off. She makes it completely work, which I think is so admirable because this is set over 8 generations. So we have a lot of new characters. We are introduced to a new perspective in every chapter. But what I love is that you also get a glimpse of what happened to previous family members. So you read about this character, but you know what happens to their parents. And usually every chapter kind of ends on some kind of cliffhanger. There's one chapter with one cliffhanger that I needed a moment because that was horrific. And it took like 2 chapters before we got back to that family line. So you have this division of the family line of the sisters. So the one that stayed in Ghana and the family line that lives in the US. That is also very interwoven with the elements. The elements also play a very important part in this book. We have fear of fire and fear of water. We have a black stone that I should probably look up the meaning of to understand the actual meaning it has in a book, but that is buried in the earth. The idea of like home going is very important as well, and later in the book that kind of ties together those themes as motives I kind of saw in the book, and I see how they are represented for something bigger than just a character story. I don't think I fully got it, and I don't think I thought, especially in the end, it was a little overdone at places for me, but that is like the most nitpicky only thing I could say about this book, because the book itself is explosive. It is amazing. I can hardly believe how well Yaa Gyasi pulled writing this book off. It is insane. In the hand of a different author, this could so easily have been a chaotic mess because so many characters, such a long period of time, but never at one point was I uninterested in what happened. There is a family tree at the beginning, which if you're going to listen to the audiobook, I would highly recommend just having a picture of this on your phone, because it really helped me understand who the character was and what the character's background is, because we jump up and down. Like, you don't get, of course, every person of the character, because as you can see, there's one family that is very ginormous and we only follow one of the siblings. Everyone told me that I would love this, and I absolutely did. I don't really see how you cannot love this because it's just really well written. Their sisters are estranged, they don't know of each other's existence. One of them goes through this historical, tragic, horrific event that we know quite a lot about, and the other doesn't, and to constantly mirror them. You mirror them, of course, thematically with the fire and the water, but also with events that happen in their life, the different kind of struggles, and where some of those struggles and some characters were absolutely horrific to read, the others were very much like daily life. I really enjoyed reading that kind of balance. All those horrific events, which are very valid in the situations where these characters are in, it can feel like the author is doing too much and is trauma dumping on the reader with having every character go through something horrific. And I feel Yaa Gyasi was very clever in showing that some lives are quite simple. That is also worth telling. I don't know what else to say about this book other than that it is a new favorite for me. A glowing 5 stars. started reading or listening to Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. I am now on page, I think I've listened to a little bit more, but I'm around page 180 and this has 600 pages, so that is basically nothing. And I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed so far. We have multiple perspectives, but there are two major timelines, one of which is our current day in LA. We follow a very famous actress. In 1914 we follow twins, one of who is called Marion and the other is Jamie. They have an interesting past. We got a little bit to know about their parents. I think every character in this book has a difficult upbringing, often combined with abuse, which of course sets up for a lot of other tragic things that are about to happen. Marion is an interesting character. She doesn't really identify fully as a woman is what I'm getting so far, and she really wants to be a pilot, which is such a strong dream of hers. When I'm reading this, she is 15 or she's about to become 15, and it's interesting to see that coming of age from a little bit of a darker perspective, and I am liking how that feels a little bit fresh and new. I think it feels a little bit overly complicated because we jump to different characters. All the characters are similar in a way that I feel they are too similar, where they don't really feel like strong individuals. Just because the LA contemporary storyline is easier to follow, I find myself more drawn to that storyline. But that character is really not a good person, and she's also actually really quite annoying. Very beginning I enjoyed because then we have our main character who lives in LA. She's called Helly, and she discovers things about Marion, because she did become that famous pilot. I know that she is going to play Marion in a film. The premise of this book promised me a little bit more than I'm getting. Again, it feels like overly complicated historical fiction where confuse the reader in a way that you feel detached. I do have to say I had quite high expectations for this book. You know, I am only like a third of the way through, so things can still happen, but I think I'm just not really loving the writing. So it's a good thing that I have the audiobook, which usually helps if the writing isn't my favorite. Yeah, I kind of had the highest expectations for this book of this vlog, but it's not going well so far. It feels like a 3-star for now. No, let's keep an open mind and let's keep on reading. I've had an incredible amount of luck with this vlog so far, so you know, it's okay if I don't love one. It's just a little bit sad that it is the biggest book. Okay, I have finished Great Circle, and unfortunately this was a bit of a disappointment for me personally. I gave it 3.5 stars, but I can also see how this really is someone's cup of tea. The plot and the characters were definitely my cup of tea. I just didn't dwell with the writing. Thematically, I really appreciated this book. We have a big question of how we tell history, because we see what happens to Marion and then we see Hadley, the actress, trying to uncover things of Marion's life. There's also a writer who wrote a novel about Marion's life, and we see how everyone kind of shapes it in the way that Marion's life is what they wanted it to be and not what it really was. And we see that Marion as a person is much more messy and complex than anyone in current day wants to portray her. And I really did enjoy that, and I think it discusses a lot of things that historians often get wrong or oversimplify about someone's life. But with the dual timeline, I usually don't really mind it, but really felt like our current day character, Hadley, didn't really matter, because towards the end it felt like we just kind of forgot about her, and that felt like such a shame because I was way more invested in Marion's life, because the whole book is basically about her. And even though we get these details of Hadley's life as well, I did really wonder where the payoff was, because I got invested in her issues as well, and that just kind of got dropped because it was all about Marion. So I did wonder where the value was in getting to know Hadley as a character instead of just an actress who does research. Where I didn't love the writing is, first of all, it is slow. This book is 600 pages and I don't think it needed all those pages. And it felt complicated in a way that there wasn't any payoff. It didn't feel was complicated in a way that I could enjoy it. I would have preferred this novel if the writing was way more straightforward, if the structure of the plot was just way more simple. I think I could have enjoyed the core of the novel way better. But because I did really enjoy Marion's story, and I really did enjoy how that was structured, where we get the perspective of her parents as well and of her family history, and we follow her from quite a young age growing up into a woman, and I really enjoyed the ending as well. This is not like a 2-star rating for me or anything like that. Enjoyment wise it was quite low, but because I really did appreciate that, it's going to be 3.5. But I can say that overall I'm quite disappointed by this novel, and I really did not expect to be disappointed by it. We had 2 5 stars, so it is fine. I just got a DM from Petra that she already started this beautiful baby. I am currently reading another book that I first want to finish, but then I'm going to start this one and I'm really excited for it. I think because the hype was very big, because of course I know Katie is. I saved this one for last, so let's go. Read, not halfway, I think a third of the way through The Secrets of Hartwood Hall. This is one fast-paced adventure and I'm having a great time. It's definitely one of those books that is very vibey, so I only want to read it in the evening because I just really gravitate towards reading this when it becomes dark outside, and especially because we have had some rainy evenings. Perfect. This is about Margaret Lennox, who is a widow and she becomes a governess in this big mansion of Hardwood Hall. A lot of odd things are going on at Hardwood Hall, which Margaret doesn't really understand. The mother is incredibly protective over her son, but she soon finds out that there will probably be a little bit more to her than just being an overprotective mom, and slowly she starts to find out little snippets here and there. I love seeing references to Victorian literature. I love the kind of subtle Brontë vibes. We have a little bit of Jane Eyre meets Agnes Grey. What I also really enjoy in this book is that all the characters seem like nice people. Our main character also has a secret because we noticed that her late husband was not super nice. There's a little bit more to him than just a dead husband. It is a super engaging read and I'm having a lot of theories. I'm texting Petra, she already finished it, but I'm texting her all my thoughts and speculations, and they change about every 30 pages, which is really exciting. And Petra said that the book really surprised her in the end. I cannot wait to see what actually is the whole truth that everyone keeps hiding. That's all I have to say for now. Having a great time, enjoying it. Great plot, great pacing, great characters, everything you want from a gothic historical fiction. So I have finished The Secrets of Hartwood Hall and I gave it 4.5 stars. I think this is so cleverly written and you can really see Katie's love for Victorian literature. I think I already told you that I love the pacing and I love the writing. I think this book is more plot driven than I expected it to be, but it really works for this book because it has such a great mystery. I did predict parts of it because I saw something in the book that I thought, oh, this is what it's going to be. Granted, that was kind of very small specific, so I think maybe some other readers would have missed that and would have been even more surprised by how everything tied together. But even though I kind of got part of it, I didn't get the whole of it, and I just love what Katie did with the plot of this book, with the revelations. I know Petra loved it as well. I cannot wait what Katie does next because I feel like she is going to be that kind of writer who's going to write books that people just want to gobble up and enjoy. Of course, I am a little bit biased when reviewing this book because of course I know Katie, so I just really appreciate having read her book. But I think a lot of people will really enjoy this one. I had a great time reading these historical fictions. I got 2 5-star, 1 4.5, which honestly is awesome. Had a great time making this vlog. It is quite a lot of work reading so much historical fiction because most of these books are quite chunky. I'm glad I was able to catch up on my TBR, especially Homegoing is going to be one of my all-time favorites I still think about it quite often, even though it's been like a month since I finished it. Let me know if you've read any of these books and how you felt about them. I would love to know. For now, I hope that you have a lovely, lovely day or evening, and I hope to see you on another vlog adventure. Doei!